And now, the general weather around Alaska.
Okay, let's move right into satellite imagery, and you can see a front moving pretty rapidly up across the state today, up into the north central interior here with a fair amount of clearing behind that, especially through the Cowen Valley, southern Susitna Valley into Cook Inlet area, and then some more clouds shifting northward here into the Alaska Peninsula and Bristol Bay, and then a band of clouds here extending down across the Pribilof Islands there into the southeast Bering Sea, out here to the west. Kind of a mediocre to weak front pushing into the western Aleutians there. And for the southeast coast, a lot of moisture coming up, as you can see, as this front pushes eastward, kind of falling apart as it reaches the coast, but some clouds spilling into the northern panhandle there and along the coastline. On the chart for tonight, high pressure will control the southeast coast here and the eastern Gulf of Alaska, that center over the Northwest Territories of Canada or the Yukon. And it stays dry here, Copper River Basin, all the way up to the eastern central Arctic coast. Low pressure here near the northwest coast, or Noatak Valley area, and the trough extending southward will bring some light snow, continuous light snow from the western Arctic coast, possibly into the Kobuk Valley there, across the western Brooks Range, Seward Peninsula, into the Yukon Delta, kind of tapering off by the time you get to the Kuskokwim Delta. And a front brings, another front develops here, not particularly strong, but that'll keep things kind of damp and unsettled for Kodiak Island, the Alaska Peninsula there, on up into the Kenai Peninsula, western Prince William Sound. And winds here coming down from what they were earlier today, bringing some snow showers, scattered snow showers of the western Alaska Peninsula. Snow showers diminishing, probably ending here for the eastern Aleutians, and should stay dry for the Adak-Atka area through tonight. And then that weakening front here stays out there to the west there, with most of the moisture sliding off to the northwest in the flow there, as another system you can see just coming onto the chart there for tomorrow continues to edge eastward here. Front associated with that, a little stronger, as you can see, a tighter gradient, so probably some gale force winds coming into at least Adak Island and over the southwest Bering Sea. High pressure ridging out of Russian Far East here into the Bering Sea, producing a fair amount of clearing there with light winds. Still some scattered snow shower activity going for Unalaska Island into the western Alaska Peninsula. And this trough here along the west coast will keep, again, areas of light snow associated with it from the western Arctic coast, possibly all the way down into the central Alaska Peninsula area. And moisture with southeast flow here kind of sliding northeastward here, increasing from southwest to northeast, and that southeast flow kind of enhancing it on the upslope areas of the terrain. Kodiak Island, periods of light rain tomorrow, fog, and also for the southern Kenai Peninsula, western Prince William Sound, possibly the eastern slopes of the western Alaska Range. But for northern Cook Inlet and the Susitna Valley into the interior, all the way up to the Arctic coast, dry conditions with areas of clearing again. And the southeast coast, variably cloudy to partly sunny, dry conditions, light winds there. And then on Tuesday, let me back up here. This low just slides off to the east in toward the Queen Charlotte Islands on Tuesday, bringing a slight chance of rain to the south coast. Prince of Wales Island stays dry here and fair with light winds over the remainder of the panhandle. And again, central eastern part of the state looking really good. Light winds, fair amount of clearing here. Tanana Valley northward in toward the eastern Brooks Range area. And a trough back here to the west keeps light snow going from the west central Arctic coast southwestward to the Seward Peninsula. And some gusty winds could create some blowing snow conditions there for St. Lawrence Island. And chance of snow in the Yukon Delta. Mixed rain or snow possible for the Kuskokwim Delta area. And again, stays wet here for Kodiak Island. This front driving eastward and weakening brings some light rain into the western Alaska Peninsula, extending back to about Atka Island from Adak westward. More of a showery condition there in the form of rain or snow. And then for the day on Wednesday, you can see this low here tracks northeastward, kind of sliding up along this trough axis here. And another system develops and pulls northeastward here, well southeast of Kodiak Island. But the way it looks at this point in time, this low will deepen and pull more north to northwest, coming up toward the southern Kenai Peninsula, possibly sometime later Thursday, Otherwise, for Wednesday, this trough will keep a chance of rain in along the northwest coast again, or along the North Gulf Coast again. Into the northern panhandle, some scattered showers possible. So a little bit of a change here coming into the southeast coast on Wednesday. Copper River Basin southerly flow, so any precipitation here will get stuck along the coast range. Dry conditions there, all the way up into the Arctic coast areas. And then, as I mentioned, this area of snow looks like even a better chance of some blowing snow conditions, with winds possibly gusting to 50 miles an hour with gale warnings for St. Lawrence Island right into the Bering Strait there. And this low keeps a pretty good chance of some light snow for the Nunivak Island area and the Yukon Delta coast. Otherwise, showery for the Aleutians. And for the lows tonight, lower 20s there in the Copper River Basin, anywhere from upper 20s to mid 30s, south central Alaska. Lows near 40, Homer, Kodiak, mid 30s for the Bristol Bay area, mid 30s for the Yakutat, northern panhandle areas. Otherwise, in the 30s down to the south. Highs tomorrow, 40s to lower 50s for the southeast coast, mid 40s for the North Gulf Coast here. Upper 30s in the Copper River Basin, back into the 40s here. All of south central Alaska again, Kodiak Island included, as well as most of Bristol Bay. And then the lows for the Tuesday morning hours, 15 to 20, Copper River Basin, mid 20s to Sitna Valley, otherwise in the 30s for the Kenai Peninsula, Kodiak Island, and Bristol Bay, and lows in the 30s for the southeast coast. Highs for the Panhandle on Tuesday, about the same as you see tomorrow, 40s to lower 50s, warmest down toward Craig and Klawock. Mid-30s in the Copper River Basin, 40s again, south central Alaska, and lower 40s for Kodiak Island, upper 30s to near 40 for Bristol Bay. Up to the north, lows anywhere from 5 to 15 below from the Brooks Range out to the Arctic coast, and a little below zero here, St. Lawrence Island, and across the northern Seward Peninsula, around 5 for Nome, Kotzebue, and St. Michael there. And for the highs, single numbers, western Arctic coast, actually up around 10 there from Point Lay to Cape Hope, or to Point Hope, and -2 there for let's see, Dead Horse, Prudhoe Bay area to Kaktovik and Barter Island, and kind of in the teens here for the northeast part of the state. But look at the 30s, back into the mid to upper 30s there for the Tanana Valley. Some areas could push 40, 41 maybe. And for the lows the following morning, down into the teens, 10 to 15 there in the central interior, 5 to 10 or so here to the north. Below zero again for the Arctic coast, definitely below zero here for the Seward Peninsula, Kotzebue Sound area. And then the highs, 5 below, 215 above for the Seward Peninsula, and 0 to 5 for the Arctic coast. Teens and lower 20s in the Brooks Range, 30s in the Tanana Valley, and out to the west, lows 5 to 10 for the southwest coast, mid-20s for the Pribilofs, upper 20s, lower 30s for the Aleutians. And the highs on Monday, 10 to 15 for the coast there, and upper 20s for the Pribilofs, mid-30s for the Aleutians, lower 30s for the eastern Aleutians and western Alaska Peninsula. And the highs Tuesday, or the lows Tuesday morning, lower 20s in the Pribilofs, 10 to 15 on the southwest coast, upper 20s to lower 30s for the Aleutians here, and the Alaska Peninsula could drop down into the mid-20s. And the highs for Tuesday afternoon, closer to 30 for the Pribilofs, lower to mid-20s for the southwest coast, and in the 30s for the Alaska Peninsula and the Aleutians.